Good afternoon, all. Thank you here. Thank you for being here with us today. I welcome you on the behalf of ELMS Sports Foundation in this seminar, Physical Literacy India Conference. We are supposed to start from 3 p.m. and right now it's 3 p.m. So we will start the proceeding right away. I once again thank all the panelists and the dignitaries who are present over here. I have the pleasure to invite Mrs. Vita Dani, Chairperson of ELMS Sports Foundation, to inaugurate Physical Literacy India Conference. Mrs. Vita Dani is the co-owner of Chennai NFC, a top-tier club in Indian Soccer League. She is also the chairperson of 11 Sports, a company promoting table tennis at all levels. I'd request Mrs. Dani to address our learned audience and inaugurate Physical Literacy India Conference. Thank you, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you, Anish, for those kind words. A very good afternoon to all the distinguished guests and participants in amidst today. I hope all of you and your loved ones are safe and healthy during these challenging times. With great pride and anticipation, we have all gathered here today to celebrate the 116th birth anniversary of Major Dhyan Chand and National Sports Day with the Physical Literacy India Conference. The Physical Literacy India Conference brings together leaders of the civil society, policymakers, and children all onto a single platform. And the theme of the conference is Let's Make India Play. The 3 sessions will give you a perspective and understanding to the state of physical literacy in India and how civil society, policymakers, and government administrations can work towards making India play. It gives me great pleasure to welcome the speakers from the various civil society organizations from across India who have gracefully accepted to be part of this conference. I'm really very happy to welcome all of you on this journey to make India play. ELMS Foundation was created with a clear vision to contribute to sports development in our country through high performance and physical literacy. While one platform is discussed on elite sports, the other aims at broad basing of sports from the grassroots level. Speaking about physical literacy specifically, it is synonymous with the experience and inspiring journey of India's best known coaches and advisors to ELMS Sports Foundation, Pulela Gopichand, who has been pioneer of physical literacy movement in India. ELMS Foundation is delighted to support and implement his vision of improving physical literacy in India. For this to happen, leaders, all of you, have a very critical role to play. It is my pleasure to be in this company of top achievers, administrators, and athletes of the country as we aspire this conference to be a value addition for you. I'm immensely proud to kick off the Physical Literacy Conference. So let's make India play. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your kind words. It's inspiring to have you over here. I have the pleasure to introduce our first panel of the day. Hridaykant Dewan is the member of our first panel. He has an experience over 40 years in education sector. Currently, he works with Azim Premji University. Hardy, as you fondly known, was a founding team member of Ekalavya and organizing secretary with Vidya Bhavan. Hardy has played a key role over the years to structure and modify curriculum, textbooks, and teacher training modules at NCERT and different SCERTs. Thank you, sir, for being here with us today. The next panelist is Ranajit Bhattacharya. Ranajid Bhattacharya, or as I fondly call him Ranajit, has been following the fortunes of Indian sports for last 5 decades, including women's sports. He firmly believes that cricket is harming the growth of other sporting discipline of the country, although he's an avid fan of the Indian cricket team. Having worked for Pratham for a decade, more than a decade, 18 years, he feels that civil society organizations can play a very important role to popularize the participation of rural children in organized sports. I have the pleasure to introduce our third panelist, Neelam. Neelam Decade. For past several years, Nilam has been working with organizations like the Sports Gurukul and Tata Trust to promote physical literacy, active lifestyle, and sports excellence. Currently, as the head of the sports at Tata Trust, Nilam plays a critical role in grassroots sports ecosystem of India. Our fourth panelist is Manmohan Singh. Manmohan has spent 20 years in transforming public schools and public health systems in India. He has led design and implementation of various education transformation programs of Kaivalya Education Team. In the last 14 years, his interest and expertise in building long-term partnership with state and central government is widely acknowledged. He has previously worked with World Health Organization and UNICEF, as well as Pratham. Manmohan is also an Acumen Fellow and Aspire Circle Fellow. It's a pleasure to have Manmohan with us today. Last but not the least is our moderator, Vivek Sharma. Vivek has co-founded the Gandhi Fellowship program at the Piramal School of Leadership, shaping and inspiring young people into becoming leaders for tomorrow. Earlier, as the North India director at Pratham, he actively engaged with state governments on executing learning enhancement and school improvement programs. Vivek sits on the advisory boards of a clutch of social enterprises, chaired a top private school in Delhi, and also invited to the board of Paytm Payments Bank. He is on the steering committee of the Quality Council of India. I would not spend any more time, and it's over to the Vivek and our respected and esteemed panelists to take us through the role of the civil society organization in promoting physical literacy. Thank you, Vivek. Over to you.
Good afternoon. Anish, am I audible?
Yes, Vivek, you are.
Yes. Good afternoon, folks. It's a pleasure to be discussing sports in 2021 on the event of the National Sports Day, which happened to be yesterday, Sunday. Well, I think 2021 is historic, and I consider the passing away of old veteran and the unputdownable Milkha Singh and the arrival on the scene of this mercurial underdog, Neeraj Chopra. I think this coincidence is very interesting in this year. And actually, some of us were talking that Milkha ji's spirit must have taken a via Tokyo detour on his heavenly journey. And as Neeraj got ready to launch his golden lunch, Milkha ji must have whistled to the spear, Bhag, Javelin, Bhag. So yeah, great times, great fair returns from Tokyo. I think good time to be talking what India should be doing in the context of our child's right to play, and of course, being able to offer her the minimum, physical literacy as her right to live. So yeah, thank you, panelists. It's a pleasure to be with you, to play host and to ask you some questions. And I'll launch with Neelam. Neelam, sports person, sports coach, and now a sports investor or an investor in, delivering physical literacy across the country. How do you see the climate today? How do you see the possibilities of India India becoming a sporting nation, that's a distant one. But how do we, at least at a minimum, deliver physical literacy to the child and her right to play? Over to you, Neelam.
Hi, Vivek, and a warm, firstly, thank you to ELMS for having me here as a representation of Tata Trust, and a very good afternoon to everyone here who have joined us for this discussion. Um, as we said, Vivek, yeah, this year has been a very difficult, and the past couple of years have been very difficult for sports. I would say 2 years ago, there was definitely a huge difference in the way the Indian environment or ecosystem was looking at sports. We were, I think, at the verge of doing something very different. A lot of focus, I would say, on it by major organizations, including our government with our Sports Authority of India and the government pitching in and doing a lot, making a lot of differences there. Unfortunately, I think COVID has set us back by many years again. Mainly being because of the funding being one of the main reasons where we have seen a decline in the funding, because that, at least when I speak of the trust, Tata Trust has always been supportive of sports for that matter. However, I mean, I would say it says that recent years we have seen that shift where the health is now just more important. So that's it, you know. And I hope and soon that we get back our focus into this area, which is, I say, more preventive. When we talk about, I think when we talk about sports and physical education or physical literacy, we need to look at it from a lens of how it is, how important it is for the physical health, mental health, social health of the child, and how we can become a healthier nation by engaging majority of our children there. With the trust, we have been doing a lot of different kind of programs, right from grassroots to excellence, with our hockey, football, badminton competitive centers across the country. But the main difference, I think, has been that we have also, wherever our excellence programs are, we have a backup grassroots program to ensure maximum reaching or exposure to maximum number of children, which also has helped in talent identification to our excellence programs. With this, through our grassroots, the aim always has been holistic development, providing opportunities for children to play, as we all are knowing that many of the places, the opportunity is just not there. So trying to provide it, I would say not so much as infrastructure, but a means of having a structured training process for the children to get engaged meaningfully, with where enjoyment is a major focus, and also ensuring life skills to be taught to the children, so that we are able to see that holistic development in the children in the coming years. So I would say that in a nutshell has been what we've been working upon in the past 3, 4, 5 years. In the coming years, there would be more focus on physical literacy, as well as including physical activity within our education. Something which we call as blended learning, where we are saying that academic concepts can be taught through physical activity. Which I think is going to be one of the major, which can really help children come back to schools, because we see a huge issue with children, being at home for 2 years, social issues where they might have a lot of challenge, especially where we work on, where we are, or in the tribal rural regions, where, anyways, getting children to school is an issue, where we see that they will find new challenges to get children back to school. And we are hoping that we can use sports or physical activity as a means to minimize those challenges, get them more comfortable to school, and slowly get them into the academics, or use physical activity as a means to teach academics to them. Yeah.
Thank you, Neelam. I think I will just kind of expect that, we make these opening preambles and then we come back to. So
Sure.
thank you, Neelam, for being succinct and very, very to the point on the mental, social issues that have come up due to COVID and otherwise as well as a community. So I think the segue that you've given me through your, the tribes, I think I want to move to Ranajit. Ranajit, I think Ranajit is from Pratham, but I think Ranajit's passion is sports. So where do communities kind of, what could be the role of communities? I mean, the aggregated, non-structured, entity in which these children exist. So what role could communities have to kind of, launch children into activity, rearrange themselves, therefore, so children have an ecosystem, a space where they play, they are joyful and being themselves. So over to you, Ranajit, community's role. Ranajit, you are on mute.
Yeah, thank you, Vivek. Good to see you. And hello to all the participants and fellow panelists. I would like to actually answer that from a different perspective, Vivek. I will answer that from the perspective of a CSO's role to catalyze the involvement of the community. The community has to be catalyzed. You have a long experience of working in the community, and they need a little bit of push, and that push can actually at the grassroots can come from the CSOs. To my mind, these are exciting moments to discuss this, and one of the major sort of deficits in our system is we have not been able to create role models, particularly sporting role models for children to emulate. Now, we have after the Olympics and the Paralympics, today India won something like 5 medals in a space of 1 hour. And that lady, Avani, became the youngest ever Olympic medal winner for India, Paralympic. And the first lady to win a Paralympic gold. So, we have a host of sort of heroes and heroines whose stories can be actually captured by the NGOs such as ours. We work in education, so we have a lot of we generate a lot of material for children to read. Now, the life stories, the career trajectories of these people are extremely interesting. We can convert them into role models. And CSOs are also better placed to capture local exploits of people, So that is one. And the second thing is, from the CSO's perspective, particularly the ones who are working in the grassroots in rural areas, they are better placed to engage with the communities, to mobilize youths, to make the children play organized sports. India has to become a sports playing nation now, which unfortunately India is not. And for that to happen, it has to be a bottom-up approach, and that approach has to actually be initiated in rural India. That's where the pool of talent lies. And CSOs, I feel, have a very important role to do that. I think that's the only way to basically involve the community.
Thanks, Ranajit. Yeah, the talent lies in the Indian backyard. I wouldn't say it doesn't lie in the Indian front yard, but yeah, there's a large mass. As one educationist used to say, back then, that the poor child has been rendered poor. We've forgotten that she's also a child. So yeah, Manmohan, over to you. I want to understand. I mean, you work with lots of governments, and you also work with multiple districts of the country. I mean, what are you seeing happen over there? Are we kind of on the cusp of being a sporting nation, as Ranajit says? Are we kind of moving towards giving the child her hour to play? I'm not even saying right to play. So, Manmohan, what is the ecosystem out there? What does the, what do the stakeholders have to say? And what do you see in the districts?
Yeah, Vivek, thank you. Thank you for organizing this ELMS. I think this is a great time. It is a coincidence that you have National Education Policy, which talks about it. It is great that you have a Prime Minister who is spending time, and the whole social media is flooded with the messages that sports is critical. And sports is not to win, but sport is for life. And it is great that we have experience of how health is critical for ourselves, which COVID has made us to realize. Unfortunately, it took COVID to help us realize that. So I think there is a great, we are at a great time to have this conversation and start, putting together different pieces of puzzle and then make India as a sporting country. Unfortunately, my experience, I come from a small village, and everybody knows this, ki padho ligo likhoge banoge nawab, kheloge kudoge banoge kharab. And at least in the quotation in last few months, it has reversed. In the quotation and in the newspaper has started talking differently, because you have Neeraj Chopra and Avni who have changed the story. And I think my experience is that, when we go to the villages, so in Uttarakhand, one of the district called Bageshwar, and in that district, one block called Kapkot, that's where we were working for a few years. And one of the young Gandhi fellow who was working there, he decided to document the local sports. And he has like hundreds of sports which he was able to document, which he went to talk to Dadaji and Dadiji and who not in the villages. So I think we have forgotten many sports and we only know few. And also the sports which we know today, बहुत लोग बोलते हैं गाँव में, अरे रे तुम तेंदुलकर बन जाएगा, बंद करो ये, जाओ स्कूल, right? और पढ़ो. So also, because you don't have a local example, and the example of the sports are becoming hero at the national or international level, and becoming the richest person also, not just hero for sports, because as soon as you become icon, lots of other things gets associated with you. But sports for life, sports for yourself, I think how do we ensure that we start promoting that? हमारे गांव में लोग फुटबॉल हम खेलते थे, चाहे बारिश हो चाहे जो भी हो, खेलना was part of the culture, right? Winning was not part of the culture. एक भाई इधर इस टीम में है, दूसरा भाई उधर में है, पूरा कंपटीशन करते थे. घर आते समय both will have conversation that how will you convince or motivate others to help you so that घर में पिटाई नहीं हो, right? So I think, Vivek, the conversation at the village level is not of great level, because in last few decades the sports which we are knows through media is of winning competition. But the sports which is required today for life, for shaping the culture, shaping the behavior, learning something which will help me for whole life, is we are losing somehow. It is there, but it is pocket of excellence. You go to one village in Jharkhand, entire village is known because it is integrated there. So yeah, that's what I would say, Vivek.
So I think I'm going to push you for the how is the system ready, probably the next time round. I think come back to that, because I also want to hear that from you. But yes, absolutely, the child must play. She must play as per her context, as per the spaces that are available, as per the instrumentations that are available, and as per the joys that she wants to derive. I think that's the aspiration. And Cupcoat to, Ranajit said the Indian backyard, but even the urban spaces. But Hadi Saab, I think my question to you is, how do we integrate this? There's a, national education policy. There are the multiple pedagogies of how to engage with the child. I mean, how do we kind of, use the force of NEP to deliver her her child, that child's, right to be in the spaces that she wants to, and to be able to express herself using sports and, contexts. So over to you, sir, NEP, and therefore.
So thank you, Vivek. The point that I think Manmohan made and the question that you asked, makes me rephrase what I was going to say, because so we need to start by asking the question that when we say that child is a part of the process of development of a nation, then what are the kind of things that we want to instill in that person who's going to become a citizen? So if we look at, whether we look at literacy, whether we look at sports, there is a notion of a social understanding of a child. So, Manmohan talked about the fact that, children played football and then played many other games. And, all of us remember as children picking up anything and playing in the place, which were not recognized, which are kind of games and things that we had created ourselves. Till we have now come to a stage of a certain amount of media, certain amount of reach of the pressures of performance, excluding certain kinds of games from the lives of the children. There's also the sense of I think how do we look at a child? Do we look at a child as a person who can engage with other children, have time for herself, have time to engage in activities for herself, or there is a pressure on her to, in some sense, perform? There are urban spaces, it happens much more that children go to the gym, they go to practice, they go to tuitions. So I don't think they are playing. They're being trained. So I would say that there is a difference between being trained as a sports person and playing. I think we need to recognize that. Because if we say India has to become a sporting nation, then there can be two meanings of that. What NEP and any educationist would say is that a child must have an opportunity to play different kinds of games and play because it is a stress buster. It gives the child to come to terms with other children. It gives the child the opportunity to learn to cooperate and recognize that the other people are important in her life. It also makes her intensely competitive for the time being, and also prepares her for win and lose both. So it is collaboration, competition, the chance of winning and losing, and in that sense also get away from the entire stress of whatever. So for that period of being on the field, if we convert that into kind of training, then we are taking away a major chunk of what the purpose of games, and I'm deliberately calling them games rather than sports, should be. So I think we need to understand that winning a medals in the Olympics or otherwise is a process that will come later. It will come when the large number of people who have won medals have come from Haryana, and not because Haryana has kind of suddenly decided to train children for that. I remember in times in Punjab and Haryana, football, hockey, kho-kho, and wrestling were things which were happening in every village. So it was so unless activities of playing become a part of the fabric of the communities, which Manmohan also alluded to, I think it's not as if these are absent in our. So what we need to recognize is that rather than reversal of padhoge, likhoge, banoge Nawab, or kheloge, kudoge, banoge Tendulkar, you need to have this notion that education and games are a part of your journey of development as a human being. What you become is a question that is something of your volition, which will come later. It doesn't have to be part of your primary and elementary school program. None of these. So they are meant to give you experience, make opportunity to participate in different kind of activities which you enjoy, in which you learn, which you explore, and which is what you said, express yourself through dance, through games. So I think it is that we must keep in mind, rather than making schools as selection stables for able people who will become footballers and cricketers and kabaddi players, and excluding most children from any form of game. So I would say that is what the NEP says, that include everyone. And that the message of games is that it includes people in it, even those who don't come from different backgrounds, different communities, they can play together. And that also builds a certain kind of fraternity. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Hadi. I think that point is very important, that schools are not breeding grounds for medals, but schools are for, being yourself, for the children to be themselves, express, dance, play, and therefore, developing their social and mental and emotional, sides, so they become composite human beings and citizens of the planet. I'll come back to you, Neelam. I'm saying, here's a sports person at the helm of a Tata Trust. How will the needle change? What will Neelam 20 years ago tell her, next generations? Wow, this is what I did. This is what we achieved as a collective. But Neelam, the person in that collective.
That's a big one, if you ask me. There's a lot to achieve yet, but yeah, I think the most important, which I think all the panelists have echoed very nicely, and we all agree to the fact that we need to start looking at sports not purely from a medal-winning competitive angle, but more from a holistic angle, where it is a necessity becomes a part of development, and that's where. If you ask me from the trust angle also, that is a shift which I'm trying to push, saying that we started our programs more from an excellence perspective, looking at setting up excellence centers in specific sports. Though the thought process was mainly also to promote the sport which has been culturally played in that region. So, for example, if it's hockey, where we're already working with education in Jharkhand. And hockey is very rich. There's a very rich culture of playing hockey in those tribal regions. And we thought, okay, there's something there which we should help propagate and promote, and that's where we put in the provided them with opportunities to train better. And it second most important thing it does is also create local role models, as we also rightly mentioned. Ranjit mentioned it, where they mentioned it, that yes, it's so important to create these local role models where the grassroots children or the parents or the community can see them, and because many of the places where, especially when we are trying to engage girls as a part of a program, there's to be able to get them to part, or to be able to get the parents to send the girls for these participation. Those local role models plays a huge role there. So engaging the youth who have been playing in the communities as coaches, who become the first level of role models for these community children, and even the parents, saying that, hey, see, this also opens up another opportunity or angle of career. That okay, it's not that you just playing, and one is development, but for them to understand that they also have to meet the other financial angle. So that's one aspect. So as a part of the strategy, we've always been engaging the youth from the regions and as coaches to train in those grassroots programs, and providing them opportunities to move up the ladder along with the children. Those players from the grassroots who then get selected, they also become kind of a role model. I mean, then you have more grassroots, more children coming into the grassroots for participation, saying that I also want to become that, right? So so that's the aspiration that helps. I wouldn't say I agree that this should not be the only thing which brings the children to play, we have to get to a point where they are able to come there just to enjoy, as we said. Bas kuch nahi, just khelo and that's it, those at least I would say we've been able to do that to some extent, where the older kids, for example, if I say that, okay, for if I want to get the talent, I need to engage them at a younger age group only. But we've not restricted any of our programs to that age group. I say that let the older people come in, no issues. I mean, they can just come and have fun and play. Let that engagement continue and to whatever extent possible. So that's the shift we're trying to bring, and we've been working on that there. Another biggest thing is, yes, how do we integrate this part in education? Because I think that's the crucial part. I mean, where do we get to connect with the children, which is that one institution where, which is common across regions, and that's your education there, and trying to see how much we can integrate physical literacy or activities as a part of the curriculum, training the teachers there who are sitting in the primary schools. We don't have PE teachers there, but we don't need a PE teacher there, frankly, to engage the children in if nothing else, just give them free play, as we say. If nothing else, just let them play, give them an hour and give them a region and say, okay, go ahead, just play what you want. Even that itself could bring a huge difference to the kind of children that we are developing when we see. So those are the paradigm shifts that we are working on currently, and I hope to see that being implemented in the coming years through the trust programs.
Thank you, Neelam. Ranajit, my question to you is, how do you build this culture? I think you were alluding to that. How do you, again, there's the institutional space, NAP, but really in the communities. And we are at 3:36. Guys, audience, please ask questions. Put your questions on the chat box, because, we'll pick up a bunch of questions if I'm permitting. Do write in your questions. Meanwhile, Ranajit, culture, quick ones.
You see, as I mentioned, they have culture already exists in some form. Like Nilam said, that Jharkhand is a hockey culture. Hockey culture also existed in every region has its own sporting culture. Manmohan said that someone, this kid went and, something sort of documented 100 something, Now, it is for, I think the CSOs can play an important role to be the link between, just to give you an example, can I show you something? We did a small little pilot. I'll show you some photos. Kshitij, can you show the photos? I'll just quickly run them through this.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Now, this is a place called Bhiti Arwa. It is famous because Gandhiji and Kasturbaji went there in 1917 and set up a school. It is one of the most backward areas of India. It is on the Nepal border. Can you just sort of show the other photographs also, please, just to give them an idea? Now, what we did was, there is something called the DMI, which is the Development Management Institute of Patna. It's a government of Bihar outfit. They had adopted some villages here in a cluster and approached us to assist them in education. It was on the whole, they were basically working on the community development of the place. So we have just one person in our ranks, perhaps in the whole of India, who has some sporting mentorship background. So we placed him here, and just to gauge whether we could include sports. That was pretty random. We didn't go with any plan. It just happened. And it became so overwhelming for us. You can't imagine, it became madness. So this culture must have existed there. It just required one person there to go and spark it. So And there have been, unexpected sort of unexpected results of this unscheduled program, impromptu program, so to speak. One thing I would like to add here is this place is inhabited by something called the Tharu tribe. It's an Indo-Nepali tribe. You can find them right from Uttarakhand down to Bihar along the Nepal border. Similarly, on Nepal border, you will find them. They are some of the most gifted athletes I've ever seen, believe me, boys or girls. They are incredibly powerful, strong, enthusiastic about sports. So this, our presence there, brief presence there, what happened was we managed to get 5 of the village school, village boys admitted to something called the EMRS, Eklavya Model Residential School in Sitamarhi. The government Bunyadi School of Bhitiarwa became the district champions in Kabaddi, just practicing 2 months with our mentor. And so what happened was there were many sort of aspiring military and paramilitary, a lot of kids who aspired to join the military and the paramilitary. So they started coming and seeking help from our sports mentor who trained them, so that they could actually, pass the physical fitness test. So these kind of things can happen,
Thank you, Ranajit. Manmohan, Samaj, Bazar, Sarkar. I mean, this intersection today is much more at play than it was, when Hardy and I were younger. I mean, is it going to contribute to gross national happiness? What's been your experience working through the corridors in the ministries and in the districts with DMs and, community officials?
Yeah, Vivek, thank you. I think there is no option but to make this happen. Of course, there are different experiences, but I think, do we have choice? Answer is, of course, not. And if we don't have choice, it just start with self. There are 234 participants here. The sporting, our sports as a part of life will begin when I decide that I'm going to do it, right? And I will bring Vivek into it. And that's how this process begin, right? We all are a part of education, right? Individual change will bring system change. That's one of the theory of change we believe. So I think there are 3 C's. In fact, the 4th one, which is collaboration, right? How do we collaborate at the panchayat level with panchayat officials? 14th Finance Commission, 15th Finance Commission has given a lot more power and money to panchayat. Do we know how to work with panchayat to ensure sports become part of the culture again? Do we know how to bring self-help group, women? We like it or not, we have great example of Avani, and we have great example of Mitali Raj and many others, that girls are doing better than, we have visualized in history. And yet, large number of girls are not allowed to go out of the house. That's the reality. Let's accept the fact. Women are not allowed to play the group sports. If we want to actually work on that, better work with self-help group women, who has become a case study internationally, that how they are working on livelihood. How do we work with religious leader? There are many examples that how religions comes into this. Work with religious leader, bring them into this, educate them, respect their point of view, and therefore devise mechanisms to intervene in this. How do you work with local media? Right? Media can become a great example again. They can start, sharing about great local heroes, that how one teacher or one school or one parents supported this, and therefore what happened. So how can we work with them? The local non-profit organizations, they're doing great work, volunteers. So I'm saying, how do we collaborate at very, very that level? And of course, collaboration at the national and state level with Sarkar Samaj Bazaar. How do you add this with the, whole toy making industry? which from Prime Minister to Chief Minister, everyone is talking about this, right? There are traditional knowledge. How can we use that with the local entrepreneurs and see what all possibilities there in these panchayats or the blocks, and create the hubs for sports infrastructure, right? Use the school. Many schools have been closed down. Many government facilities, physical facilities are not being utilized. Identify them at a Jan Andolan level and use them for sports infra, right? Invest a lot of non-utilized money, which is there for sports. Change the policy if required. So I think this will require the whole lot of collaboration, the convergence. Now, someone spoke about there is not enough infrastructure, and the sports playground are not there. And I'll give you two examples. One in Mumbai school, one day, all the student decided to have a conversation कि हमारा सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम क्या है, और वो प्रॉब्लम उनका निकला कि हमारे पास प्लेग्राउंड नहीं है. एंड देन दे डिस्कस विद सम प्रोसेस कि कैसे इसको सॉल्व करें. एंड दे डिसाइडेड कि यार इतनी बड़ी बड़ी रोड है, वो रोड हमें 2 घंटे के लिए मिल जाए एक सप्ताह में तो खेल लेंगे वहां, राइट? जैसे कि रोड कैसे ब्लॉक करेंगे? बोले रोड तो बहुत सारे म्युनिसिपल कमिश्नर बंद करते रहता है, कभी इधर से नो एंट्री, कभी उधर से, यहाँ भी नो एंट्री करा देंगे. कैसे होगा? म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन में जाना पड़ेगा. एंड दे डिड दैट एंड दे वर एबल टू प्ले. You need to go through this micro innovation. And the second is systemic level, which is example Narega. Use Narega. Narega is being used to build the boundary wall of a school, create the local infrastructure. That's the mandate of Narega. Why Narega can't be used for sports infrastructure? Right? So using the convergence of multiple departments, right? Bringing the social justice empowerment ministry, minority ministry, tribal ministry, all of them has a vision. There is everybody has vision to improve lives of people on the ground. So why to work on silos? Why just to think about youth affairs and sports ministry and their budget? Of course, that need to be improved, but let's look at the current other possibility to converge. Then I would say whole competition of collaborative games. Most of the games I know is a team game. So can we promote the team game? चाहे वो खो-खो हो, चाहे वो क्रिकेट हो, चाहे whatever it is, और फुटबॉल हो. Start, imagine पहले तो होता था बहुत, अभी धीरे-धीरे कम हो रहा है. Why it is not happening? Because it is not celebrated. It is not in the vocabulary of teacher, of the parents, of the community, of the whoever is influencing the local person. Can we start working on that? Can we create those models? And then the last C is the communication, Vivek. I think how many such webinar or seminar or the conversation are happening. So I'm talking about communication. Doesn't matter what. I don't know if the Olympic flavor is going to be there or not. Can we continue to have this flavor? Whether it is Olympic, we don't have as much as noise about the other sports or other event. Why? Because it is in the mindset. So can we start working on the communication as an educationist or the group of people who really care for this, so that we change this environment, completely?
Thank you, Manmohan. I think I will go back to Hardy. Hardy, you have an audience of teachers, education administrators, professors. I think you have the right gravitas to tell them 3 things that they must do to make some of this happen. What, Neelam, Ranajit and Manmohan have alluded to. So yeah, 3 to 5 things.
So the most important things actually Manmohan has flagged, and I will try and just repeat them. The point is that there are so many grounds, there are school grounds, but they are not open to children to play. They are not open to children to do what they want to. They are not open to school after the school is closed. So first thing that we need to actually do is to, first allow the use of existing spaces. And in some manner, the panchayats or the schools can have a teacher appointed there so that children can actually get together and sort out the little bit of difficulties that they may have initially without becoming the boss and without becoming the teacher who is having the authority to control what children are doing. So I think that's the most important thing, to legitimize the fact that spaces are meant for children and ensure. The second thing, which again Manmohan flagged, is that at the school level, at the panchayat level, the school should encourage local games. And so that, there is it is recognized that part of the school process is also playing. So when children go out to play at home, they are not doing something which is not part of, in a sense, what is expected. So I think the most important thing is to build the kind of bring in the convergence of the parents. He also alluded to the religious. So one of the basic tragedies in this country is the division that we have had, and the continuous stress on our fraternity. And I think that, because you are playing, and in that play there are disagreements. Now, if each disagreement is going to get into a flare-up, which is going to go back home, then the communities are obviously scared of allowing children to interact with each other. So I think that also is something which we need to challenge: the participation of girls, the acceptance of girls going out and playing. I was very happy to see the pictures that were shown, where the girls were playing football. So I think those 4 or 5 things of assuming that games and sports are essential to life, using all existing spaces and giving children access, spaces and time, and giving children access, and also promoting through some ways. Role models are not only Fogarts. Each village has a role model. I mean, I had a role model when we were playing football, cricket, volleyball. They were, little bit. We were not. None of us was excellent, but we all wanted to be better like the other person. So role models emerge at the local level in whatever game, whether it's Gada Danda, whether it's Gilli Danda, whatever you are playing. There are role models, there are competitions, there are stages of excellence that you go through. But the point is that, do we have the space and time available? And parents and teachers must allow that. I'm sorry I took too long.
Not at all. I think Anish will tell me that, our time is over.
Vivek, can I have a minute? 1 second, Vivek.
Anish won't let you. If Anish lets you, of course. Otherwise, he's the
I
boss.
just want to
ahead.
make one point about what Manmohan said. I think the main point here is, you were talking about panchayats and you're talking about, MG Naregas and all that of the world. That's fine. But I think if you confine yourself to the sports policy, Khelo India needs to be decentralized. It should be decentralized to the district level. Moment you do that, everything will fall into place.
Panchayat.
Food for thought.
Thank you, Ranajit. Anish, I think as per the clock, I need to be winding up or winding down. Right, Anish?
Yes,
so,
Vivek.
I mean, I wish we had 10-15 minutes more. We could have just done. I think we were just beginning to warm up because I think there are expositions that, I mean, there are supplementaries that, that I want to ask of everyone. But probably I'm going to reach out because, you've tickled my bud, so to say. But I think the 3-4 things, I mean, Nilam said at the onset that there is optimism. There are convergences that are happening, at the ecosystem level, various players. Manmohan is, giving us a whole range of optimism in the sense of, how creatively we can converge around the issue. Ranajit, of course, says community is the, bulwark. And of course, I think Hadi, the whole notion of, removing it from the PT teacher and making the teacher make it happen. I think because PT teacher is an aspiration that I don't know when we'll be able to kind of, fulfill at the grassroots school level. And the fact that spaces are available and spaces need to be created, that as a national mandate, and a ball and 40 children running behind it, I think that's how we all played. Well, thank you. I think that's the summing up that I could possibly do. I may have missed out a lot of things. Anish, are you going to ask any questions, or shall we just collect the questions, crowdsource the questions, and maybe write back on this group at some point in time? I think we are well past, I think, the deadline. Anish, I'm going to say thank you. But yeah, we could have done with 10 more minutes. ELMS Sports, many thanks for reminding us of the sports day, for collecting this group around this dialogue. I think this conversation was extremely useful. Thank you, folks. Thank you for joining in and for making it a nice, nice, flavorful thoughts, which probably all of us will carry back into our lives and make sports happen, as Hadi said. Everyone to be engaged with something beautiful that they enjoy doing. All the best. Have a good day, everyone. Bump into you, Elm Sports. Maybe next year you should make it an annual feature. Maybe we should all meet in person around this idea, not for 45 minutes, probably an entire day. Thank you. Thank you, Vita, for organizing this. All the best.
Thank you for having us. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much. Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
So this is Anish again. Thank you so much, panelists, for this wonderful session. Personally, I am inspired to be here and listen to all of you. There was absolutely no dropout when all of you were speaking. Everyone, like the number only kept on increasing as the session went on. That clearly shows that how insightful the conversation was. It is my great privilege to request Mrs. Mona Lisa Mehta, Director of M Sports, who is an Arjuna awardee, a former national champion, a table tennis hero who won India many medals at the international level. I would request Mrs. Mona Lisa Mehta to come forward and make the concluding remarks. We are very fortunate to have her with us today. Over to you, Mona Lisa ma'am.
Thank you, Anish. Dear panelists and participants, on behalf of N Sports Foundation and the entire community, I want to thank all the speakers for being the part of the first session of the Physical Literacy India Conference. It was indeed very interesting and informative session. I would like to thank Hridaykant Dewan from Azim Premji University, Ranajit Bhattacharya of Pratham Education Foundation, Manmohan Singh from Kevalya Education Foundation, and Neelam Babardesai from Tata Trusts of the engaging panel. I would like to thank Mr. Vivek Sharma from Gandhi Fellowship for being an excellent moderator for the session. The session has shared deep insight on the importance of children to be physically active in order to experience holistic learning and ways in which civil society organizations need to collaborate in order to make India play. I do hope that we can together build on this panel discussion and work together to create a fitter and healthier country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mona Lisa ma'am. Thank you. Dear panelists, I once again thank you from bottom of my heart. And I'm sure when I'm saying this, I'm representing all our viewers and partners. For the next session, I'm personally very, very excited. I would like to invite Alfiya Shaikh, our dear team member, to speak with our young friends from Kashmir, Mudassir, Abrar, Mirat, Madiha, Iqbal, Kasif, Saqib, and Ureid. They will tell us what is physical literacy is for them and why does it matter to them. Our partner, the STEARS Foundation, gave us this opportunity to speak to them. The STEARS Foundation and M Sports Foundation are together working with children from Kashmir on setting up the virtual physical literacy league. Frankly, I think that this is going to be a very, very important session because we are directly going to listen to the children. Over to Alfiya and our young friends. We are going to hear you in rapt attention. Thank you.
Am I audible, Anish?
Yes, you are. You are, Alfiya.
Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you so much, Anish, for that wonderful intro. So, yeah. So before we start, let me just give you a gist of what Janba's Physical Literacy Virtual League is. So this happened when the entire team of ELMS had to sit together and brainstorm a lot to come up with ways to use the digital platform and at the same time keep the true essence of physical literacy intact. And then we came up with a Physical Literacy Virtual League, and we thought of doing a pilot with the students of Kashmir. And today these are the students, our panelists who have joined for the session, and they'll be telling us exactly how their experience was and what were their learnings, how they feel. To be very frank, we haven't completed the league. It's reached successfully to about 2 months so far. We have another month to go, but they will be sharing us a real idea about how are the experience. Before we go ahead, I would like to welcome you all the panelists of Janbat. Hi, everyone.
Hi, ma'am.
Okay, so I know you all. Let others also know you. So we'll have a quick introduction.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Hello, everyone. I'm Mohammed Abrar, a 9th grade student from Model Public School, Sopor. I am from Sopor, Kashmir. I am 15 years old. I like to play cricket. Thank you.
Thank you, Abrar.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Kashif Raza. I am a 7th grader of Model Public School, Model Town, Sopor. I am 13 years old and my favorite game is cricket.
Thank you, Kashif.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. This is Miratul Riaz from Kashmir. I'm 9th grade student from MPS. I hail from a village in Sopor, and I love doing diary entries during my leisure time and sometimes sketching also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mirat.
So first of all, hello everyone. Thank you for giving me the chance to introduce myself. I am Mudassir Changa from Sopor, Kashmir. I am from 9th class of Model Public School, Sopor. I love cricket and my favorite sports person is MS Dhoni. Thank you.
Thank you, Mudassir. Iqbal, Ured.
So first of all, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. My name is Iqbal Mushtaq. I am from Kashmir, Sopor. I read in class 9th. My age is about 15 years. My hobby is to play football. My sports role model is Cristiano Ronaldo. Thank you.
Hello everyone, myself Saqib Farooq from Kashmir. I am an 8th grade student of Model Public School. I love to play football and my favorite sports person is Mesut Ozil.
Hello everyone. Hello everyone. My name is Raid Altaf and I am from Kashmir. I study in 7th grade from MP Model Public Model. Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, Urid, please go ahead. आप आराम से हम लोग आपको सुन सकते हैं. आराम से.
I study in 7th grade. My age is about 15 years old and I love to play skipping and riding a bicycle.
Thank you, Urid. Madiha, would you like to go next year?
Assalamualaikum to everyone. My name is Madiha. I'm from Sopor, and I'm 13 years old. My favorite game is cricket, and my hobby is reading books.
Thank you so much, Madiha. So I officially welcome you all, students. Thank you so much for joining today with us. And before we go and talk to them and know their insights and their actual experience, I would like to invite Tabish to tell us on the cultural aspect of Kashmir and how physical activity looks to a Kashmiri. So she is basically a coordinator with STEARS. Over to you, Tabish, to just give us a complete insight about how physical activity is, seen in the sight of every Kashmiri.
Thank you, Alfiya, and thank you everyone for joining in today. Kids were super excited to introduce themselves and talk about it. So my name is Tabish. I am a coordinator. I am been working with the STEARS for quite a long time now. So let me walk you through a bit about what STEARS is. STEARS is basically, it was in its initial phase for just an idea. And we were a group of, young social or developmental practitioners, educators and researchers. And we strongly wanted to see the change and in fact, be the change that we wanted to see. So this was an idea wherein we wanted to work towards the community that was highly marginalized within in Kashmir. But then because of the efforts and the diverse set of skills that our team members put into, it developed into an organization which is now working particularly towards the young for their upliftment and their empowerment using the experiential education and advocacy. So we want to value the students, we want to value students' exposure out of their classroom, and we want to focus more way beyond, the education beyond the books, and it does not just lie in the rote learning. So basically we wanted to transform the conventional framework of education, and and we wanted to emulate this thought in our regimen of conventional framework of teaching, learning and training process. So this was basically the whole idea about STEARS is that we chose education as the linchpin and focal point of our organization because we believe that it does truly have the power to change and challenge the status quo and have a total contextual transformation. So that is more about what STEARS is. So after everything changed to online because of one of the safety measures that was implemented, the safety measures implemented by the government. So we really felt the need to have and we wanted people to embrace what physical literacy is in Kashmir. So there was a joint program with the ELMS, and we were really happy to collaborate with them. But there is a huge backstory to it. Why there was an urgency to intervene at this point of time. See, basically, Kashmir has gone through, decades of conflict, like 7 decades of armed conflict. And to be honest, the frontline target of this conflict has always been education. The education system in Kashmir has always been, there has been a crackdown on it every time. And this has been costing these, innocent and precious future of this nation a lot of their happy good moments from their school, especially for the children who were born after 1990s. They have spent less time in school and more time in homes, which is so horrific to even wrap your heads around. So Kashmiri students, they never had childhood in Kashmir is completely different than the rest of the world. We have always found Kashmir to be romanticized and fantasized for its beauty, which of course is true. But beyond and behind that, there is a lot of story that never make it out of the Kashmir. There is a huge, there are mountains of stereotypes that have been surrounding around Kashmir, and this is kind of very disheartening to see these because of the conflict that they have gone through. And it's not just about the conflict; it could be the ethnography of Kashmir, the geopolitical situation, the geography of Kashmir, and not to forget about that this all is happening on an already patriarchal setup, wherein girls are finding it really hard to come out of their homes and be where they want to be, like play in the play in the grounds and make a ground for themselves. So this is kind of there is a huge amalgamation of lot of things, the politics, conflict, religion, patriarchy. A lot of things have been pushing and invisibilizing sports from the childhood, especially in Kashmir. And this is not, and one more like there was also an intervention and urgency for the policymakers, the researchers, and the people who are working towards children in Kashmir. They had also come up with the proposition that there is going to be an epidemic of psychological issues in Kashmir because of the ongoing trauma that they have been, like, these have been raised amidst abductions, and they have seen encounters, they've even seen, they have been participating in the funeral. So that kind of has shifted the whole paradigm of getting completely educated, and this has shifted towards onto a very aggressive mode, which is something that we as policymakers always wanted to get rid of. And we came up with solutions, say like involving students into these activities wherein they can get their time off, their head off, their mind off these things that are happening around their society. They have been experiencing since their childhood. And not to forget the one more horrible facts about and in fact which also stresses on the importance of sports in Kashmir is the mental disorders that have been found in these adolescents especially. And one of the common mental disorders that has been found in Kashmiri youth is the anxiety, that accounts for almost 9% of the total disorders found, and it has been followed by mood disorders and then behavioral disorders. So most of these even more than half of these cases are from students who are school-going students, and this average is higher. This is more than any other state in India. So these, as I told you, this is because of these, their exposure to this. And to speak more precisely, and there were 200 mental trauma cases in past 12 months, and out of which 80% belonged, or 80% of these cases belong to pre-adolescents and earlier onset stage, which is again very nauseating to see that these innocent children are getting to go through this at such a very early age.
Tabish, I totally agree for all the highlights and the points you have actually put forward about Kashmir and how it's completely affecting a normal child's childhood. So luckily, we could actually come up with something using the virtual platform and helping the students.
Absolutely.
So let's just hear from them. I mean, I'm sure everybody else also wants to listen. So, एक एक करके हम जाए? क्या बोलते हो? काशिफ? ठीक है.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
ठीक है. तो काशिफ, हम आपसे स्टार्ट करते हैं. तो आप हमें बताना चाहोगे कि आपका नॉर्मल डेली रूटीन कैसा दिखता है विद रिगार्ड टू बीइंग फिजिकली एक्टिव, या आपका एक नॉर्मल डे रूटीन कैसा है?
Assalamu alaikum to all of you. First of all, I thank ELMS Sports Foundation and STEARS that gave me a chance to speak here. In my routine of physical activities, I play cricket and badminton with my brother in my backyard, because in this COVID, we can't go outside of our homes, so that I just play in backyard of my house with my brother.
Okay, so you mean to say you play in the backyard with your brothers. So what opportunity did a platform like Jindbaz gave you? How did it help you? मतलब जितना आप खेल रहे थे उससे आपको क्या ज्यादा मिला?
मैम, पहले तो हम सिर्फ घर पे ही खेलते थे, ऐसे क्रिकेट विकेट बैडमिंटन वगैरह, लेकिन इसमें हमें कुछ अलग से एक्टिविटीज लाइक स्किपिंग रोप खेलना, बोटल फ्लिपिंग, एक्सरसाइज, डेली एक्सरसाइज हम करते हैं. इससे हम एंगेज रहे अपने बाकी डेज में. फ्राइडे को फेस ऑफ होते हैं हमारे, तो उसके लिए हमें अपने आप को प्रिपेयर करना होता है. तो बाकी डेज में हम ये प्रिपेयर करते थे, अपने आप को प्रैक्टिस करते थे. तो इससे हमें लीडरशिप में भी हेल्प मिली, क्योंकि मैं अपनी टीम का मैं कैप्टन था. मुझे सारी जिम्मेदारियां लेनी पड़ती थी, कौन जाएगा, कैसे, पहले कौन जाएगा, बाद में कौन जाएगा. तो लीडरशिप में भी हेल्प मिली, और फ्री टू स्पीक वहाँ पे हम बात भी कर सकते हैं. तो ये सारी अपॉर्चुनिटीज मेरी दिन बाद.
That's really nice, काशिफ. जैसे आपने बताया ना कि बहुत ज्यादा फिजिकल से ज्यादा आपने देखने के लिए कोशिश किया. You learned more about human values. You learned about leadership quality. So Meerat, now I want to know कि आपके आप लाइक आई वांट टू नो फ्रॉम योर साइड कि आप कैसे खेलते थे या क्या खेलते थे या आपको क्या खेलना अच्छा लगता था?
बेसिकली मुझे क्रिकेट खेलना पसंद है क्योंकि और मैं सबसे ज्यादा क्रिकेट अपने फैमिली के साथ खेलती हूँ. आई लिव इन ए जॉइंट फैमिली. आई हैव बंच ऑफ कजिन्स है एंड बेसिकली क्रिकेट खेलना मुझे इसलिए पसंद है क्योंकि ये इसमें कोई बाउंड्रीज नहीं होती है क्रिकेट में. और इट्स ऑल थिंग कि हम जितना हम खेल सकते हैं उतना खेल सकते हैं. ये हमें कॉपरेशन सिखा सकता है, ये हमें टीम वर्क सिखाता है. इसमें क्रिकेट में आई थिंक ज्यादा ना जज्बा इसमें होता है. क्रिकेट में जोश से हम खेलते हैं और इसमें ज्यादा प्लेयर्स आपस में अगर हम कोऑपरेट नहीं करेंगे तो अगर एक प्लेयर ज्यादा खेलेगा दूसरा कम खेलेगा, इससे हमारे टीम में कम मार्क्स आ सकते हैं. तो क्रिकेट मेरा फेवरेट रहा है और इसके साथ मेरा इमोशनल अटैचमेंट भी रहा है क्रिकेट के साथ. तो आई लाइक क्रिकेट.
रियली नाइस मीरत. बट जहां तक अभी ताबिश भी बता रही थी ना कि गर्ल्स के लिए सेटबैक किया जाता है विद रिगार्ड टू स्पोर्ट्स या स्पोर्ट्स को लेके जो सोच है वो कहीं ना कहीं पीछे रह जाती है. सो being a girl, is there any particular challenges you feel with regard to convincing your parents, or as a girl any particular challenge you want to share which you felt in pursuing any kind of physical activity?
Well, one of the biggest challenge faced by the children is especially कि जो गर्ल्स, हम गर्ल्स की स्पेशली बात करें तो कश्मीर में जो गर्ल्स की है उसमें सबसे पहले मैं मेंटालिटी को बोलूंगी कि लोगों की मेंटालिटी, यहाँ पर पेरेंट्स की मेंटालिटी मतलब बहुत ऐसी है कि गर्ल्स नहीं खेल सकती, गर्ल्स का सपोर्ट्स के साथ क्या लेना देना है, इट्स ओनली फॉर बॉयज एंड व्हाटएवर. लेकिन उसके बाद कहीं ना कहीं मेरे ख्याल से इसमें जनरेशन गैप भी अहम रोल अदा करता है कि उनके ख्यालात कैसे है, हमारे ख्यालात आज की मॉडर्न ख्यालात है, हम अलग सोचते हैं, वो अलग सोचते हैं. उनके ख्यालात हमसे बहुत डिफरेंट है कि गर्ल्स बाहर न जाएं, यहाँ पर घर में ही रहें. तो लेकिन इन सब में हम बोलते हैं कि कुछ लोगों का मानना है कि इसमें लिटरेसी मतलब बहुत अहम रोल अदा करता है कि अगर कोई किसी के पेरेंट्स लिटरेट हों दैट मीन्स वो अपने बच्चों को खेलने के लिए भेजते हैं. मेरी बात की जाए तो मेरे पेरेंट्स दोनों पे, मेरे में माँ भी टीचर है, बाप भी टीचर है. इट डजंट मीन कि मुझे ऐसे सपोर्ट्स में भेजते हैं, नहीं. वो लिटरेट है लेकिन वो मुझे उतना सपोर्ट नहीं करते सपोर्ट्स में. वो कहते हैं कि नहीं सपोर्ट्स नहीं है, वो ये उनकी थिंकिंग भी उनमें हम नहीं कह सकते कि वो अलग सोच उनकी है, गलत थिंकिंग है. लेकिन उनकी सोच अपनी जगह पे सही है, हमारी सोच अपनी जगह पे सही है. बट और हम इसको एक ही सडनली हम इसको चेंज नहीं कर सकते. हमें ये है कि आराम आराम से हमें स्टेप्स लेने चाहिए, जैसे गेंदबाज ले रहा है, बाकी सारे ये ले रहे हैं. हम इसको अपनी सोसाइटी के सोच को चेंज करते हैं. और ओवरऑल ये तो हो गए एक बात, लेकिन बहुत अहम रोल अदा करता है जो यहाँ पर कश्मीर की पॉलिटिकल सिचुएशन है. ये इसमें बहुत अहम रोल अदा करता है कि पेरेंट्स सोचते हैं अगर अल्लाह बचाए कि अगर हम अपने बच्चे को बाहर भेजेंगे, वो खेलने जाए प्लेग्राउंड में, अल्लाह बचाए कोई अनहोनी ना हो जाए बच्चों के साथ, तो हम नहीं कह सकते हम ओनली पेरेंट्स को दोष नहीं देंगे. हम पॉलिटिकल सिचुएशन यहाँ पर कश्मीर की ऐसी है कि हमें गर्ल्स को बाहर नहीं जाने देते हैं. लेकिन यहाँ पर मेरे हिसाब से मतलब इतना मैं कहूंगी कि पॉलिटिकल सिचुएशन का यहाँ पर बहुत अहम रोल अदा कर सकता है. और मैंने यहाँ पर 2 गर्ल्स है, मैं जो मेरी लोकेलिटी में एक है उसका नाम मुझे याद नहीं, लेकिन दूसरी है बानीपुरा से तजमुल इस्लाम, हम उसको कराटे चैंपियन भी कहते हैं. उसने इंटरनेशनल लेवल्स पे खेला है, वो बहुत लेवल्स पे जीता भी है. उसने मैं कहती हूँ कि उसने एज अ गर्ल उसने इतना ब्रेव स्टेप लिया है और वो इतनी कम उम्र में इसने सोसाइटी के लिए आसान कर दिया कि वो उसने इतना पहले उसने ब्रेव स्टेप लिया. अब दूसरी लड़कियों को भी लेना चाहिए कि हाँ, जब उसने किया तो हमें भी करना चाहिए इसमें सपोर्ट्स में. तो आई थिंक इट्स गुड.
थैंक यू मीरत. आपने बहुत कॉन्ट्रास्टिंग व्यू दिया. पता है आपने एक तरफ बताया कि जैसे पेरेंट्स होते हैं कुछ भले ही वो एडुकेटेड हो, वो फिर भी नहीं समझ पाते क्योंकि वो जनरेशन गैप है और उसके वजह से लड़कियों को दिक्कत होती है। साथ ही साथ आपने एक कॉन्ट्रास्टिंग स्टोरी भी बताया जहाँ पे आप ही के प्लेस से बिलोंग करती है एक लड़की और वो कैसे स्पोर्ट्स में एक्सेल कर रही है। दैट्स रियली नाइस टू नो, जिस तरीके से आपने ये कंप्लीटली एक्सप्लेन किया कि जो एक लड़की के लिए फिजिकल एक्टिविटी का पिक्चर है वो सभी लड़कियों को हम लोग जनरलाइज नहीं कर सकते। इट कैन वेरी फ्रॉम पर्सन टू पर्सन एंड फ्रॉम द फैमिली थिंकिंग एंड द बैकग्राउंड ऑल्सो। साकिब, मैं आपसे जानना चाहूंगी कि आपके लिए कैसा सपोर्ट सिस्टम रहा है इन टर्म्स ऑफ आपके स्कूल की तरफ से या अपने पेरेंट्स के तरफ से विद रिगार्ड टू पुशिंग यू टू बी फिजिकली एक्टिव और परस्यूइंग स्पोर्ट्स एज करियर।
हम मेरी तरफ से मतलब मेरे पेरेंट्स तो सपोर्टिव हैं और सपोर्टिव नहीं भी है। लाइक ताबिश मैम ने कहा अभी कश्मीर में कैसे हालात हैं, तो उन्हीं पे अगर हम घर वाले हम पे भरोसा करते हैं तभी हम बाहर जा सकते हैं। लाइक अगर यहाँ पे हालात ज्यादा खराब हो गए तो हम बाहर नहीं जा सकते। तो इसी पे अगर घर वाले हमें बोलेंगे हमें बाहर नहीं जाना तो नहीं जाना।
तो अबरार, आप क्या रीजंस देते हो अगर आपको कुछ खेलने जाना है या फिर वो लोग बोलते हैं कि मत जाओ, जैसे अभी मीरत ने भी बताया ना पॉलिटिकल रीजन है या उनकी मेंटालिटी है, तो आप क्या रीजन देते हो या फिर आप उनको कैसे समझाते हो? लाइक दैट्स द बिगेस्ट टास्क एज किड्स, राइट?
यस मैम।
अबरार,
यू आर म्यूट।
अबरार आप म्यूट पे हो बच्चे।
सॉरी मैम। और ऐसे एक्सक्यूज आते हैं कि खेलने से तो अच्छा है, पढ़ो खेलने से तो अच्छा है, काम करो खेलने से तो अच्छा है, हमारी हेल्प करो। फिर मैं उनको बोलता हूँ कि खेलना भी इम्पोर्टेंट है मगर लिमिट में। इंसान को हर एक चीज सीखना चाहिए, चाहे वो खेल हो या कोई और काम। फिर वो समझ जाते हैं और देते हैं इजाजत।
तो if they understand and they give you इजाजत, what are the kind of activities you can still push? कुछ एक दरमियान होता है ना कि इतना ही खेलो या इसमें हिस्सा लो, ये वाला नहीं करो। इज देयर एनी बाउंड्रीज दे फिक्स, और या बोलते हैं कि चलो जो मन में आया करो, और वहां पे भी उन लोग इंटरवीन करते हैं कि
बाउंड्रीज भी नहीं, और वो कहते हैं कि बस जितना लिमिट है उतना ही खेलो, जितना जरूरी है उतना ही खेलो, हद से ज्यादा नहीं खेलो।
ओके, सो दिस इज ऑल्सो अनदर साइड टू इट कि जिस तरीके से वो लोग सोचते हैं कि खेल भी एक लिमिट में होना चाहिए और उस पर भी वो बाउंड्रीज रखते हैं। तो बट ओवरऑल उरेद, आपको क्या लगता है कि फिजिकल एक्टिविटी या फिजिकली एक्टिव रहने का कंप्लीट बेनिफिट या रोल अपने शरीर पे क्या है? लाइक ओवरऑल जस्ट अगर कोई आपको ऐसे ही पूछे कि अगर आप खेल कूद करोगे उरेद या बहुत एक्टिव रहोगे, इससे आपको क्या फायदा होगा?
मैम, फिजिकली एक्टिव रहने से हमारी हेल्थ बहुत इम्प्रूव होती है। जैसे कि हम बहुत सारे इससे फिजिकली एक्टिव रहने से हम बहुत सारी बीमारियों से भी बचते हैं, जैसे कि कैंसर है, डायबिटीज है एंड थायराइड है। इन बीमारी अगर हम फिजिकली एक्टिव रहेंगे तो इन बीमारियों का खतरा बहुत ही कम हो जाता है। कम क्या, बहुत ही कम हो जाता है। इससे हम, और अगर हम फिजिकल एक्टिविटीज डेली मतलब अपनी रोजाना लाइफ में करेंगे तो इससे हमारी लाइफ हमें इमीडिएट फायदे भी मिलते हैं। सबसे ज्यादा जरूरी ये है कि अगर हम फिजिकल एक्टिविटी रेगुलरली करते रहेंगे, हमारी लाइफ की क्वालिटी मींस हमारी मतलब बॉडी फिट रहती है और लाइफ क्वालिटी भी बहुत अच्छी रहती है। और जब हम फिजिकली एक्टिविटी करते हैं तो हमारा मतलब ब्रेन भी बहुत ज्यादा अच्छे से फंक्शन करता है और मेमोरी भी अच्छी हो जाती है।
थैंक यू रेड। आई मीन जिस तरीके से आपने बताया, राइट, दैट रियली समराइजेस द एंटायर बेनिफिट अबाउट फिजिकल एक्टिविटी। तो मुदस्सिर, यहाँ पे एक सवाल जो मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूंगी कि क्योंकि काफी टाइम ऐसा लगता है ना कि फिजिकल एक्टिविटी मतलब फिजिकल ही विकास होता है, यानी बस फिजिकल डोमेन। डू यू एग्री टू इट कि बस फिजिकल एक्टिविटी करने से हमारा बस फिटनेस ही उमदा होता है, या इज इट बियॉन्ड फिजिकल?
नो मैम, फिजिकल एक्टिविटी अगर हम फिजिकल एक्टिविटीज से भी हम फ्रेश होते हैं, अगर हम कुछ भी मतलब लाइक आसानास भी करें, वो उससे भी हम फिजिकली एक्टिव हो सकते हैं। अगर हम यहाँ घूमने जाए मतलब वॉकिंग जॉगिंग के लिए, उसकी वजह से हम या घर वालों के साथ अच्छी तरह बात करें, घर वाले भी हमारे साथ मतलब टाइम बिताएं, तो हम उससे भी मतलब फिजिकली फिट रह सकते हैं।
Thank you, Mudassir. So it was really nice to listen to you all and all your insights about how you guys have been trying to be physically active, और जिस तरीके से सिचुएशन है उसके बावजूद आपने वो एक स्टेप फलांग के आगे कोशिश की है अपने घरों में या अपने whatever area or space possible है, उस दौरान आप अपने आप को physically active रखें. So everybody, students of Janbaz have actually prepared some of a small demonstration जो वो लोग करते आए हैं, and they want to showcase all the challenges which they have done so far. So we have successfully reached up to our 7th week. This Friday will be the 8th week running. So जो सारे उन्होंने ये 7 weeks में किया है as one challenges and did face off, they have put together a small act which shows everything. Meerat will be leading. So over to you all, guys. Meerat, ready? So be apne space
Yes,
ready.
Yes, ma'am. First, here we have Abrar. Abrar will be doing walk and towel exercise. Abrar, let's start. We are all watching you. This exercise works on entire body, and it evaluates heart rate and increases blood count also. This exercise can be helpful for the beginners as well. We can do it for हमारे अपनी जब किसी का वेट बढ़ जाता है तो वेट कम करने के लिए वो घर में ही घर के चीजें इस्तेमाल करके ये वाली एक्सरसाइज कर सकता है.
Okay, who is going next?
Iqbal.
I think Iqbal has dropped out. Mudassir, would you like to go next?
Wait, ma'am, I'm fitting the camera. I'm off किसी और को बोले.
Iqbal is present, I think, but you have to make him the co-host so that he can be put on the spotlight.
Kashif, till then, you can start.
चले काशिफ, आप start कीजिए next.
This is Kashif doing his bottle flipping. I think आज के जमाने में मतलब आज एक स्टूडेंट मोबाइल के साथ ज्यादातर रहता है, तो ये एक बेस्ट चांस है कि हम अपने स्टूडेंट्स को बॉटल फ्लिपिंग सिखाएं ताकि वो मोबाइल से बहुत दूर रहे. एंड आई थिंक इट्स एक्साइटिंग, एंड जो भी इसमें पार्टिसिपेट करता है वो उसको हंसी मजाक मतलब सब अच्छा से आता है, और ये बहुत फन है हम इसको करने में.
Thank you, Kashif. Mudassir, you want to go next?
Okay, ma'am.
Mudassir is doing walking in push-up style, and this activity can be done easily at home. ये activity mostly beginners के लिए इस्तेमाल होती है. इससे भी हम अपना belly fat lose कर सकते हैं और इसमें muscle stretching ज़्यादा होता है.
Ured, next. हाँ जी Ured, ready, start कीजिएगा.
We can see Ured. Ured is doing lemon spoon race. She's only demonstrating it, how to do it, lemon spoon race. अगर हम अपनी siblings के साथ घर में ये रेस खेल मतलब कर सकते हैं, ये बहुत फनी है और इसमें बहुत मजा आता है. अपनी siblings को जब आप बोर हुए होते हो तो आप ये खेल सकते हैं. Sakib, you go next. As we can see, this is Sakib doing a spin. It improves concentration and get rid of fatty, and usually it reduces belly fat. स्किपिंग से ज्यादातर हम जो पॉइंट करते हैं, मतलब जिसमें ज्यादातर अहम स्किपिंग में जो करता है वो है कि इसमें बॉडी फ्लेक्सिबल, इससे बॉडी फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी कहते हैं, इससे बॉडी फ्लेक्सिबल होती है और स्ट्रेच अपने आर्म्स को कर सकते हैं, हम अपनी बॉडी को कूल एंड काम हम अपना रिप्रेजेंट कर सकते हैं. वेल डन साकिब,
थैंक यू.
इकबाल इज देयर मीरत. इकबाल को हम लोग ने स्पॉटलाइट में डाला है. इकबाल रेडी?
यस मैम.
ओके.
Iqbal, we can't see you.
I think there is some network issue इकबाल की तरफ से. So इकबाल is basically showing demonstration के द्वारा कि हम घर में जो भी अवेलेबल रिसोर्सेज है, जैसे हमारे पानी की बोतल हो या कुछ भी चीजें, उसको हम वेट्स बना के कैसे यूज कर सकते हैं और हमारा एक्सरसाइज रूटीन कैसे प्रैक्टिस कर सकते हैं घर पे. सो दैट्स व्हाट ही इज ट्राइंग टू शो. So thank you Meerut, thank you Iqbal for demonstrating, and I must say you guys were really great. I must admit कि आप लोगों ने जिस तरीके से बताया different kind of physical activities जो आप करते आए हो with regard to having the constraint of not going out or any kind of barriers, फिर भी आपने वो जो चेंजेस इन योर सोच रखा है और हमेशा कोशिश किया है अपने आप को फिजिकली एक्टिव रखने का. अल्लाह करे यू ऑलवेज रिमेन फिजिकली एक्टिव एंड प्रीच द सेम टू अदर्स एज वेल. So on that note, I think I would like to end up here. Thank you Tabish, the STEARS team and our GenPass participants for giving time and coming up today. Thank you everyone.
Thank you Alfiya.
Over to you.
We want to thank ELMS Sports and STEARS, especially Alfiya ma'am and Tabish ma'am. Thank you for providing us this platform.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you all the children, our young friends. It was a pleasure in seeing you in action and words. You have a bright future, and we are very, very fortunate and grateful to be part of your journey. Our next session is going to start right away, and our panelist needs no introduction. All England champion, Arjun awardee, ace coach, Dronacharya awardee, and Padma Bhushan, Mr. Pullela Gopichand will speak to Mr. Aditya Nataraj, the CEO of Piramal Foundation, Ashoka Fellow, and an Eckhart Green Fellow as well. They will take us through the concept of physical literacy and need for multi-level cooperation to promote the concept. We go straight to listen to Pullela Gopichand and Aditya. Over to you, sir, both.
Hi, Gopi, how are you?
Very fine, sir. How are you?
It was wonderful listening to those children, no?
I think it was amazing. I think Alfiya and the entire team from JNK, Tabish, and all the kids, I think I am amazed at how they were able to articulate in words and also physically. I think what they have been able to show is something which is amazing. I think great, and it's just as Aditya was putting it, it's great to be part of that journey at ELMS. I think I'm so happy to see what's happening.
Yes, only 180 million children to go, Anish.
Yes, I think
every child is able to speak like these children who have spoken so far. It will be so beautiful. Do and speak and enjoy the whole process of sport.
Truly, I think I know for some reason, I think we as a nation, and probably this generation is going to find it even more challenging, and probably things like COVID just complicate the scenario for a population which is spending a lot more times indoors than it has always been, whether it's political reasons or whether it's armed conflict or whether it's COVID. I think the times you are spending at home generally with gadgets and in small places has become far more. So I think the need for physical literacy is much more today than it's ever been. Me, Aditya, I would really want to actually start off with asking a question, because you've been heading institutions which promote health, there is education, there's leadership, a lot of these things. How do you think physical literacy helps? And one of the things which I would really want you to focus on is in your leadership school, for example. How do you think that this sport will help, or physical literacy and getting all of them to be physical activity helps?
Yeah, Gopi. So maybe you can go back and forth. I thought first we could start with even you just defining physical literacy, because I love the way that you define it so specifically. It was really a motivation for me itself. But I'll just give you an example, right? What is leadership? I mean, the amount of sports we actually use in our leadership programs is very high. People imagine leadership is equal to discussing some case study about someone else. Leadership is about initiative. Leadership is about teamwork. Leadership is about handling conflict. These are all the things I learned in the football field. I didn't learn in my MBA college. So, you know, every day when you play football, you have conflict, you fall down, you have to learn to pick yourself up. And that's what you're doing now in COVID times. You know, you lose and you still have to be happy and still wake up the next day and go to play football again. So I think the amount that sports can teach about leadership is actually amazing. Most people focus on the sport for the physical aspect of it. But the life skills, I almost feel like there are three parts of the sports, right? One is obviously the sports excellence for people like you. I used to play 10 different sports. I was useless at all of them. But I used to just love it for the physical side of things. And today I realize that it helps me also on the development of several life and leadership skills in all these sort of dimensions.
Yeah.
I'll give you one example, Gopi, of something that's very vivid in my memory. You know, typically in government schools, you have a combination of men and women in the same school. And we used to notice that in the staff room, the woman never speaks. The woman teacher never speaks, especially if it's a male headmaster. So while 33% of teachers in India are women, in the principal and above category, less than 5% are women. So leadership positions are assumed to be male positions. So we wanted to challenge that whole thing. And, you know, you can challenge it cognitively, but it doesn't work. What we actually ended up doing is playing ultimate Frisbee. And we set a whole set of games with ultimate Frisbee where men and women were in the same side. And first time round, you told them, okay, play with each other. And they wouldn't pass to the woman at all. They would just pass it amongst the men and they would score. No one even thought about the woman in the team. So the second time we play, we tell them it has to be touched by each person before it touches the goal. So then they forcefully give it to the woman. But it's very interesting. The man will stand right next to the woman just in case she drops it. And it shows your lack of faith. And then we used to do a debrief after they played the sport. And the woman used to explain how bad she felt that no one trusted her. And this is actually happening in the school every day. But it was played out in the sports field. And therefore, it was much easier to discuss, because we weren't discussing that you don't trust me at school. We were discussing that you don't trust me on the sports field, which is not a normal environment, right? And so we've used it for gender issues. We've used it for leadership issues. We've used it for teamwork issues. I think sports has so much potential in leadership.
Wow. It's great to hear that. And it resonates very much for me of what we did in school. And exactly the same, in the sense I was one of those who was good in running, typically. So you would end up playing all sports, whether it's football or basketball, because there's not much of skill, but you just run and play. So all the sports you play. But then if there is somebody who's a little not physically fit, then you almost kind of put them down. One, in the team itself, in the 50 kids who are in class, in the sports class or something, you have 10 people playing, and then you only pick the guys who are really good. And even in that, by chance, you have somebody who's not good, you would say, isko baby over there, though, like give him 3 balls. Or if you make him stand somewhere, the ball should never come. So I think somewhere that discrimination and lack of trust is something which I definitely think that the roots come from school. And I think it's very important to start talking about it at the, not only when they get older, but I think with a very young age. It's very, very important. And I think this is something which I really feel, in the sense, although we talk about organized sport as being so much in the sense we talk about kids talking about cricket, about football, and what we've learned. But for me, my journey in sport, if I were to really look at, actually starts not there. It starts at my Matrishri apartments in Hyderabad. Because for me, the leadership lessons which they taught me there was unbelievable. Because just think of it, I drop my bag, 3:30 I'm off, and then I go out there, I'm going and persuading people. I'm actually talking to their parents. Auntie isko bhej do khelne ko. You're actually collecting people, and then you're 5-6 people. You have limited resources. You maybe don't have a ball. Sometimes you don't. You have some stones or marbles or just open ground, and you need to figure out. So you're telling people, you're convincing them by, let's play chor police, or let's play chain cut, or let's play ice push. Let's do something, and then we all agree, and rules are formed as per the conditions there. If it's raining, if it's sunny, there's something else. If there's a car parked, there's something else. There is people that side, so you play offside runs or leg side runs. There's something. So you actually are innovating. You're telling people, you're actually convincing people, and then you as a team decide that these two people are the team leaders, and actually those leadership qualities have to be exhibited there. And one of the very important things, I think, is today when we talk about learning something, we immediately say, I need to learn it from a coach or a person. But so much of it is learned by actually watching, by actually imitating. And none of them taught us how to play. We just picked it up. And that eye to pick, the eye to imitate and to actually play is something which is very, very important. I think that is learned from unorganized sport. And of course, you said it in the sense, if you are in a tight match, and if you lose, and because of you, the team loses, you're going to be taunted for a very long time. And that, I think that pressure actually helps in life, because those are real things in real life. So leadership, I think we have this notion of sport, which is very organized in some sense, but really the benefits of unorganized sport, I would actually go back and say, actually even outweighs organized sport.
Wow.
Because you have coaches standing there and saying you line up, but actually people going out there among peers, and then just because of the norm or the social structure, you are actually saying, boss, everybody, let's stand together and we'll fight together. And if you don't pass a ball to somebody, you're not going to be in the team next time. So these are things which actually naturally come out in unorganized sport. So I somehow feel that the thought of sport itself is something we need to challenge, because every time we think of sport, we say, I need equipment, I need players, I need coach, I need structure. But actually, you don't need anything, in the sense, just people playing chor police or maram piti, or even seven stones or ice boys, I think has such phenomenal value that we need to say the 20 minutes or the half an hour which we give is just go out and play, and just give them some ground, or even just empty the rooms, 2 rooms, and say, just go play hide and seek. And that's great fun too. Or just put a band around their eyes, and then play blindfold. I think some things like these, we need to start looking at innovative ways of getting sport into people's life, which is fun oriented.
That's really a great point, Gopi, because especially coming from someone like you who's been about sports excellence, how did this transition from sports excellence to physical literacy and everyone playing sport? What has that transition been for you? I'm not saying we don't need sports excellence, but this you're promoting is not even sports excellence. You're just saying everyone should play.
I think the whole story for me, I started playing sport in 85. And from that day, it's been about excellence. Not because I thought it will be a career, but for me, this was like, if I play, I have to win. I have to play better. That's how the idea was. And anybody and everybody who was not good at playing sport was kind of was eating into my time, in the sense there were 3 badminton courts in the whole of Hyderabad. Why is this fat uncle playing? He's taking my time away, in the sense I have to go for a tournament. Why is he playing? So that is what the mindset with which I played. that continued even in my coaching days, because if kids who didn't have talent, or kids who were not really cut out for great sport, I would say, why are you wasting talent? And that's what my entire sequence was. So in the bargain, I actually left out many people, and which I didn't even bother, because I was focused on the 2 who were there, or the 4 who were there. And that's what it was about. It was about picking the best and then training them to be better and better. But one day, actually, I had this moment where I was throwing shuttles to a kid to catch and throw back in a group. And one of the girls actually dropped the shuttle from about 5 feet away. And when she dropped, I was a little annoyed. I said, come on, be focused. And then she dropped the next one as well. And there were many kids in class, so I didn't bother. I just moved on. But she came up to me with a straight face and asked, sir, teach me how to catch. And that for me was a shocker, because never did I ever think that I can have kids who can be like this. And I realized what we are going through, because all we focused was medals, and actually we left out a lot of them. So it actually started to make me many questions inside, in the sense, if I had sports builds confidence, that's one word we always say, blind, close our eyes and say. But I started to remember and say, if the guy or the girl who actually didn't get to play cricket with us, does it help her confidence? The person who is last in the running race where everybody is mocking them, do they have the confidence? And it started to kind of make me think about my own childhood memories and say, I was actually not good in maths because I was traveling, I was playing tournaments, I was missing class. And then the maths teacher would say, come on, you go out. And then today when I think of maths, I said, I don't want to do it. So if in childhood, if you have bad experiences of sport, then what do you do? So for me, physical literacy is about not the kids who can do these exercises. It's about the person who's not able to do these, but who's motivated to do physical activity. And we as a society are respecting that and actually saying, come on, you can also do it. It's about being active for life. And it's not about organized sport. Organized sport is not for everybody. I think just people to have fun, to move around, to move. They could be dancing, they could be cleaning the house, they could be walking, running, jumping, doing whatever, even if it's slow things, even if they are slow meditating, if they're doing anything with the mind and body connect happening, and they're able to enjoy it from deep within, that is what for me would be the key essence of it. And that needs to be, it's not that what I'm saying is any rocket science, but it's just that we don't see the value of it as much as we see an Olympic medal, as much as we see professional sport, and then as much as we enjoy somebody who's doing double scapes or triple scapes or an acrobat, or say, wow, we want to be like that. It's not about them, because the USA has incredibly fit people, but on the other side, it has incredibly fat people as well. Because when you push the bar on one side only, the repulsive effect happens on the other side. I think we need to kind of be conscious of it and promote the activity across the section. And I think that would be very important.
Absolutely. There's a question from a student in Kashmir, Gopi, saying, how do you face failure and when your teammate is taunting? You were just speaking about unorganized sports. That happens very often because you miss the ball, you miss the shuttle, you miss the race. Do you think children learn this by themselves, or there's need for an adult to help to make sure this inclusion happens and this fear doesn't happen? What is your experience?
I think human values and ethics, I think to have the empathy to see through. I've been in sport for 30 years, from 85 to 2015. Till that moment happened, I just didn't even see that happening. Because you could be right there and miss the point because you're focusing on something else all the time. So I think that's the key point. I think there has to be somebody where kids are supposed to be told. And this is, as you rightly mentioned, the principals and the ladies, in the sense, it's like, what is happening? You could be right next to the lady just because I don't trust her. And that's it. You might actually be there, you're intellectually good, but you still don't get it. I think it's important that we start people to recognize those things. And we also start telling people that you are good may not necessarily be because you're more hardworking or something. It could also be that you're genetically endowed and you are probably got better facilities than the others. So just be empathetic to it so that each one be pushed to their best potential.
So what role, Gopi, I think you're painting a picture from everyone saying, you know, we want Olympic medals type of thing. You're saying, of course, we can get a few of those and maybe a few more. But like the US example, they have the highest obesity in the world and the highest number of medals. So it's probably more valuable for them to make sure that everyone plays sports. What role do you think teachers, civil society organizations have so that we can start this movement?
I think recognition is the important thing. I think just to start talking about it is important. I think many of us miss the positive elements of playing, of doing physical activity, of unproductive work, in the sense you study. And like you study, and even my sporting journey was because my mom said he's wasting time playing on the road. Why doesn't he go and play badminton? So basically people think that when you play, you are actually wasting time and anything you study is good. But really somebody closing their eyes in their room, I'm sure I've got a daughter who loves to do this. Many girls would. I think just to close your eyes and be by yourself with music and keep dancing and let the body flow by itself is such a beautiful experience for people who love it. And I think that is so important. I think it's not about sport, it's our own personal journey of a mind-body connect, which actually takes you to much beyond sport. I would be honest to say that when we do sport for something, actually missing the point. I think we just have to have, the nature is that we need to have fun. And we need to explore ourselves to what we are having the best fun. Somebody might run, somebody might close their eyes and sit, somebody might dance, somebody might play with friends, somebody might compete to find what their best potential or their kick in life is. So I think would be very, very important for us.
And, you know, the new national education policy actually has paragraph 4.8 for the first time, which specifically mentions sports. And I'm just quoting from there, which says sports integration is another cross-cultural curricular pedagogical approach that utilizes physical activities, including indigenous sports, in pedagogical practices to help in developing skills such as collaboration, self-initiative, self-direction, self-discipline, teamwork, responsibility, citizenship, etc. And therefore, sports integrated learning will be undertaken in classroom transactions. They're saying it's not just for the physical activity. You can actually include it for math, science, everything. It actually has to be sports integrated education, not that there's a separate PE teacher. How much would you subscribe to this point of view?
I think fun has to be a primary element.
Okay.
That is important. If the kid is every time we are saying we want you to learn this through this through this, I think somewhere the underlying fact is that fun should be recognized as being very important. People are going to continue doing something if they love it, if they're motivated, if they love it, if they have the knowledge of it, if they will continue to do it for life. These are the pillars on which physical literacy's definition, the way Dr. Margaret Whitehead has said it. And actually for me, to kind of, although we try to put a curriculum around it, we try to put a structure around it and teachers around it, I think the teacher should be looking, are people conscious of people around? Are people empathetic? Am I looking down and say, is the last person in class actually enjoying the sport? Is he having fun doing it? Is the teamwork happening? Is no discrimination happening? Are the people aware of what is happening? Are they having fun? Will they come back tomorrow to be part of it again? Are they confident enough and knowledgeable enough to challenge themselves to do better than us? And will this continue to be their life mission to be physically active for life. So these are the principles which I would really want us to start looking. And I would also say that for national integration or teamwork, imagine a dance, Punjabi dance in a South Indian place, in a Bharatanatyam in Manipur, or something like that, which we have such a great culture of or a history of. I think we should not focus on sport per se by itself. We should start looking at various other things around, and the teacher can do it, in the sense the teacher can say that I have evaluated, and this kid has been confident, this kid has been active, this kid has been taking kids along, he's learned to be a leader, he's more confident. It's the teacher can assess it, but from the kids side it should be, am I motivated? Am I have the knowledge? Am I having fun? Will I continue to do it? And will I be able to challenge myself to do better and better?
You've spoken multiple times about this mind-body connect. Somehow, at least normally, we imagine that sports is equal to body, maths is equal to mind. But clearly, you're not seeing it like that.
No, I think there's enough and more experiments which actually tell us that you are physically active and you get better marks. Neurons are built because of physical exercise. So there is proven, it's not something which I'm just saying. So I think physical activity has a direct connect to you being smarter, and that translate into your educational scores as well. So it's, I think, very, very important.
So sitting and clicking on a TV screen constantly for online education and sitting and clicking on a TV screen are not the future. Hopefully children will be out there playing instead.
Yes, it's something, I think it's going to be challenging, because what we are up against is instant, very gratification, very quick applause. I think we are up against something very big. So I think we need to market this nice so that it's catchy, it's fun, people are attracted to it, and we need to be inclusive in our approach. I think the key point is that inclusiveness, the fun part, the last person, everybody is taken together, and we need to approach this much more stronger than which we've done in the past, because we need it. And Adityaji, for one point, in the sense, how many subjects in the education system have great value in life other than sport? If I were to put a question to you, because you've been asking me all the questions.
Listen, I'm the wrong person to answer this question because my own children don't go to school, because I've stopped seeing the value of school. My daughter is sitting in a tribal village and sitting and making a house at the moment, and building her own bathroom and discovering types of reptiles. My son is out playing in the park, because I think physical activity is so critical for the development of emotions, development of the brain. The cognitive ability is going to come. It's, we are inherently born with cognitive ability. Physical ability is what I'm not sure in the next 10 to 15 years. I'm not sure the structures exist to ensure the physical development. And without physical development, mental well-being, physical well-being is not going to happen. And you see that endemic. Unfortunately, what is happening is that people are treating it after the problem, right? The preventive stuff never gets attention. So after you have mental health, okay, we'll give you a therapist, but you needn't have mental health issues. Nah? Just go out and play and have fun. After you have the physical problem, I have diabetes and this thing, it's very politically viable to then bring a bunch of people and say, okay, chalo, maine cancer hospital chalu kar di, diabetes ke liye. Wo sab karne ki zarurat hi nahi hai. Just start playing much before that. The physical activity is so critical. And for, like you said, it's not for the competition, it's for the last child to be included. That is much more important. Tell you, my nephew actually is a person with special needs. The only reason he recovered, Gopi, was because of 3 sports programs, which are specifically developed for children with special needs. One called Healing Horses, where they use horse riding as a way for you to, for the child to do, because mind-body connections are a problem for him because he's special needs. But the interaction with the horse, and therefore riding the horse, taking care of something that's larger than you, getting the warmth from the horse, climbing up the horse, getting off the horse, feeding the horse, that helps. Similarly, swimming for special needs children. helped him. He was exactly, when you're talking about not able to catch a ball, at the age of 10, he wasn't able to catch a ball because he can't coordinate his limbs at the speed at which the ball trajectory is. And the only thing that helped was sports. So I'm a major advocate of the need for physical development. I was tired out this morning, but if I don't do my yoga, I know I'm going to be more tired. So I have to do it. So I completely endorse this point of view, which is why they probably got me on this. What I don't know how to do is how to make this in a country that's obsessed with grade 10 scores. The standard pattern is when you come home, your mother will ask you, homework kiya kya? Have you finished your homework? But the question is not, have you played? And if we just change that, right, as to what is the parent incentivizing and what is the society incentivizing? Luckily, my parents incentivized sports. So we used to play for 3 hours a day. Just madly we used to play and then come down and then homework. Aadhe ghante mein khatam karo. But I don't think that's. I think my parents were very forward-looking and recognized the importance of this. But unfortunately, that's not the pattern. It's better to sit and solve some complicated chemical equation which you're never going to use again in life, rather than go out and kick the ball once more. Everyone asks the question ki wo karke karoge kya? I think the same thing is true also for the chemical equation. Very few of us actually land up as science professors. So we really need a complete rethink of this as to how much time of the 40 hours of a child in a week goes for physical development and having fun, as opposed to purely cognitive development, goes for emotional development of the child, goes for the social development of the child, rather than merely the cognitive development of the child.
Very, very. I think I am truly amazed at your journey as well. I think to have you go through this and actually live this is something really phenomenal, because I am in sport. I do this, but I think somebody outside of sport to do this is something phenomenal. But also one of the points which you had actually mentioned about India becoming, definitely, I think the last 10, 15, 20 years, we've actually improved as a sporting nation, especially in the last 10 years, I would say. A lot more poor parents are willing to put their kids in sport. But one issue which starts to come up with this is it's almost the same mindset, that the score 10 mindset, in the sense they're asking, you can go to play, but when they come, they're asking, did you win or lose? I think that's one of the issues we are having now, with parents pushing their kids to sport to win. I think that's also another side where big mental issues are happening with kids playing sport as well. So you want to be kind of knowing the fact that this is what happens. And I think win or lose, you're a winner playing sport. I think sport has benefits, and one of them is medals. And just by playing sport, we recognize the merit of playing sport by winning a medal. But actually, the importance or the benefit of sport is actually much beyond medals. I think that is the story which we need to promote, in the sense, by playing, you're already a winner. And if we can have some kind of a real program around that kind of a thinking, I think will be enormously, would have actually helped millions of kids across the world, not only in our country.
Unfortunately, sport is associated with competition and winning and losing for some reason. I think the mindset is that. So, I've tried playing cooperative games with children and they don't want to. Sport is about me beating the next guy. Somehow that pattern is so high that it's about beating, it's about winning. And therefore, only 5 people will play and the remaining 20 are not playing. The enjoyment portion of it, for some reason, maybe we don't see our parents doing it, maybe we don't see other people enjoying it, we only see winners. I don't know, there is clearly something going
our
on.
Society's recognition of winners is one of the biggest issues. I think if you go to a running race, the kid who has improved the most is never getting the applause. The kid who is won is getting the applause. So I think somewhere when technology could help us in, if you are running, say, 15 seconds, 100 meters when you start off, and if you are improving it to 12 or 13 seconds is great. But if somebody who's has the potential to do 11 seconds, does it in 12, it's not the greatest thing because he's not done his potential the best.
Compete with yourself.
Compete with ourselves, focus on the process, be not the goal and the medal, but really the process is what is important. Somewhere our mindset, our thinking, and also our appreciation of our role models and celebrities need to be for people who've done the process well. I think there's definitely a conscious change in what we are seeing. I think teachers are very important. People who earn the greatest money cannot be the role models for society. I think we need to start looking at the way we evaluate success differently from what we are doing. And I'm saying this not from any book or something, but generally my experience in life is like we've had great champions, but unfortunately broken individuals. Sport has created a lot of celebrities and stars, but also you can see the hollowness in them. So I think we need to start looking at deeper into what we value success as a society as well. And I'm just coming this from a sport perspective, and I'm sure from a corporate perspective, from a Bollywood perspective, or things we would do it. But yes, sport is fiercely competitive. But we need to start instilling these values, human values and ethics and stuff from very young age. I think it would be important.
So you wouldn't recommend the sort of American and the Chinese models to be imported into India, where grassroots sports is merely, is disproportionately invested to create pyramids of people who are hopefully going to win medals in 15 years from now?
I think I definitely don't, because I think if our idea of sporting nation is Olympic medals, then I think we'll never be able to achieve that from a clearly grassroots perspective, because $10,000 as per research is what is required for a kid to play Olympic sports per year. And we never be able to actually afford anything even close to that. I think our models have to be different. We need to think innovatively. We need to get to grassroots. We need to see people play and benefit from sport. And yes, and this is where because I had this great dilemma in the sense, how do I get, because on one side I was so strongly associated with this physical literacy, the thought about sport for all. And then on the other side, I was training Olympic athletes to win medals. And then this is where J.R.D. Tata's quote was something which I really loved, which actually put my head into the correct or some sense of direction, where it actually said that a nation doesn't become great by just removing poverty. It becomes great when you give its talented few an option to shine, to be the best in the world. I think that is the model for us. I think across the board, everybody is literate, everybody is enjoying physical activity, dance, music, yoga, Bharatanatyam, sport, fun, everything. But if we find talent, we should also use that to ensure that performances brings us pride for our community, our state, our nation. And that pride is important for us to grow forward as a nation. So this for me, today, after maybe 35, 40, 36 years in sport, is something which I feel is some kind of a direction which I think I've been able to form.
Fantastic. So thank you so much, Gopi. I don't know, Anish, this was a great conversation with a person who's outstanding at a sport and a person who played 10 sports, but I have never won a single game, Gopi. I must be one of the most resilient people because I'm not good at a single sport, although I played tennis, squash, badminton, TT, football, ice skating, everything I did. Nothing I was good at. But, it must be taking some level of genetic capability to be good at no sport and still enjoy it so much.
I think actually to have that kind of a mindset, to actually be participating in sport and enjoying it, even if you're not winning, I think speaks volumes of you, and also the kind of mindset we have, because it's not necessary that we win always. nobody is going to win always, and people have to embrace failure also. It's okay. I'm not saying you have to, but you have to prepare for failure, or you have to be okay with failure. It's not the end of the world, and you're not going to be winning forever. And I think we need to start looking at this as a journey and not as a milestone. And goals versus processes, I think excellence versus competition. We need to start looking at it, and it's. I'm sure education is looking at it, but also sport. Also, it's the same story. We need to look at it better now, because it's very competitive, and the mental aspects will kick in very quickly if we don't do this.
Thank you so much, Gopi. I learned many things during this, that it's not just about sport, but all physical activity. It's not just about the body, but the body and mind connect. It's not just about winning, but it's about the fun. It's just not just about you, but it's about the inclusion of the last person. And it's not necessary the Chinese or the US model to win everything, but it's about just getting the country to enjoy the sport. And it's not about the goals, but about the processes. Thank you for this masterclass, and it was really wonderful talking to you. I believe there's a portal that ELMS is launching for resources for people across the country to be used for sports, for any non-profits, coaches, teachers, state governments to use for that. And I believe Anish will make sure that you launch it at this occasion.
Yeah.
Aniket, please make the screen live so that Gopi sir can launch it.
So, do I need to do something?
It's done, sir.
Okay, thank you. Congratulations. Best of luck to all of you at ELMS.
Lovely. I think ELMS Sports Foundation, congratulations to all of you in the team for putting this out. I think it's really wonderful. I think we need more resources. We need more people to talk about it, and we need these resources to go to the parents, to the PE teachers. I think this is excellent work from each one of you at the ELMS team. Congratulations, and all the very best. And it's great to have Aditya ji talking to me. I think I've learned so much. I think you've not let me ask you many questions, but I think your life, the way you've actually have your kids do that, and your examples of your nephew actually, I think moves me. I think goosebumps when you said that whatever he's learned has been through these sports. I think that's something which I really believe is very, very useful. For me, one other thing about sport, and we do today Paralympics, and para sport is there. We have about 10 kids, 10 players at the academy who are from the para sport.
Oh, brilliant.
Sport. Wow. And for me, when I look at them, if we have somebody, and this is like, I might sound crude in the way I might explain it, but somebody who walks with a limp, and people would say, "Hey, dekh langda hai," and that's that typical thing. Or somebody who's short stature, like dwarf, he would say something to them, demean them. But when they actually go out and play a tournament and win, and they wear the flag of the country, and there's like, I won, and I've seen this. I was part of the Paralympic squad when Mansi Joshi won the World Championships, and Pramod, he won the SL4 category. I think he actually took off his shirt, and he was like a real hero. So I think very few people other than sports persons have that experience, especially if you are somebody who's physically challenged. I think that is very, very important. So people recognize that, and he feels proud of himself. I think that is something which we need to change, because sometimes if you do that, then when people actually have a disability, also people are saying, okay, he has a disability, but let's turn that into an advantage. And that's why I think whether it's special kids with special needs or whether people with physical disability. I think para sports, I think is very, very important.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, dear panelists. Personally, I'm stoked. This is the very reason me and a lot of young people like me come and work in sports and sports education. I have the privilege to request Mr. Kamalesh Mehta, Director of M Sports, who is an Arjuna awardee, 8 times former national champion in table tennis, here with us. And I would request Kamalesh sir to come forward and make the concluding remarks to the Physical Literacy India conference, and also to give the vote of thanks to our last panelist, Mr. Gopichand and Mr. Nataraj. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Anish. A very, very good evening. I would say a very, very sporty evening to all of us. Dear viewers, thank you for being here today with us. On behalf of the chairman of M Sports Foundation, Ms. Vita Dani, and the board, I am privileged to give this vote of thanks. Would like to thank you for participating in this event. We sincerely hope that our journey of understanding and implementing the concepts of physical literacy will go from strength to strength from here with all your support and encouragement. This session was just fantastic. Lot to learn from this session. I felt it should have gone on and on and on. And I would like to thank 2 such dignitaries who are here with us. One, Mr. Aditya Natarajan, CEO of Piramal Foundation. Sir, you have played 10 sports. Well, you are steps ahead of us. I have not played 10 sport. 1. 2, one particular incident that you mentioned that happened to you, that your father asked whether you went to play. Well, I was one of the fortunate one, and that's the reason probably I went into sports, that even during examination day, first thing he would ask me is, did you go to play today? So I could very much relate to what you said. Thank you for being with us, sir. And you so well summarized so many good things that have been put by you and Gopichand, and it's literally a very great learning session for us. And of course, Sri Pulela Gopichand, no introduction is required in sports, especially in India, about him. I personally feel that he's one person who has actually catalyst in making each and every Indian coach believe that being in India, they can produce world champions and Olympic medalists. Thank you, Gopichand, for giving that belief and being with us today, as you are the torchbearer of this physical literacy in India. We at ELMS are committed in promoting physical literacy through our actions, words, and conduct. I would also take this opportunity to thank all the previous panelists, civil society leaders, for their wise words which are coming out of the experience. We are thrilled to know that the potential of this collective to make every child in India play sport and learn. We would like to thank the promoters and leadership of M Sports Foundation who organized this event. Your commitment is unparalleled. We would also like to thank entire executive team of ELM Sports, which has put this fantastic sessions together. It was really wonderful, lot of learning. With these few words, I officially conclude the online seminar. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. We can all log off now. Thank you.